All right, let's see what we got here. I think we're on. All right, thanks for stopping by. We are doing the whiskey chat with Telex here, and let me make sure I get Malt Muser. He's going to be stopping by here in a second. He's got a nice channel as well. Check it out if you haven't already. And I got to send him a link to join up with us on the chat here after little bit of an introduction, and then we'll get him on board the ship here. Give me 1 second, guys. I would do this beforehand, but since I do the short review always first, it's easier just to start the new live and then send it this way. Anyway, we decided to take a look at a new one, and shout out again to Roy Aquavite. He was the one that got me into even remotely trying Blair Athol. Um, it's not a starting distillery, I would think, for a lot of Scotch drinkers. I'd say it's more of medium. If you've had a little bit of sherry before, along with the basics, like you've had some Highlands and Speyside, some fruit. You maybe dabbled already into sherry. Then I think this is the next logical best step to take at this point is the Blair Athol. The first one I saw Aquavite do was he was talking about Inchgour, which is another Flora and Fauna bottling, and he was dead on. Like it's not for the beginning whiskey drinker by any means. It's definitely more geared towards people that can appreciate a well-rounded, complex, but a ton of notes going on, type of dram. And this is kind of similar to that. There's a lot going on. Um, it does have its faults. I mean, it's definitely far from perfect. I mean, it's got some learning room, I guess we'll call it. But either way, it's you know, it is what it is as far as with the coloring and the chill filtering and all that. But a lot of the issues with the Flora and Fauna series that Diageo runs it, and this is an older thing. I don't think they would approach it the same way if they re-released Flora and Fauna bottles. I'm hoping they would do more of a craft experience where they're not colored and not chill filtered, maybe even a boost in ABV 46% to 48 if they could do it. I think that they would consider that, but that's just a guess. I can't remember what year they did these. I want to say it was around 2015 or something. I can't not remember. And they might be released more than once over time. I wasn't sure if this was something they just did back in the day and will stop releasing them, or if they continually release these new ones all the time. If there's a way to tell, like if you have a certain year, like this one, it gives me a number like L9219C. I want to say IV001. And then a 00000175. Now, I'm not sure if that means anything, but it's one of those also that's really tough to find in America. You will have to order it overseas. I really, really would be surprised if anybody was able to walk in any liquor store in America and just saw this or any other Flora and Fauna bottle just sitting there. Especially if it was something like a Cleveland or one of the rare ones, like I think Mortlock has a rare one. A Rosebank definitely is like a unicorn bottle. So with that said, though, if you do order it, if you're in a state lucky enough that'll ship to you, this only ran me like $40 American. That is crazy. Plus the shipping, yes, but 50, 55, and it's definitely complex enough to justify that. It blows away any other 12-year-old that I can think of. I mean, the craft isn't as good as a Glendronach 12, but as far as complexity and character, I think this beats it. I really do. It might not be as I don't know if refine's the word. It might not be as well crafted, but there's a hell of a lot more complexity, I think, with a dram like this. That's just the way it feels. Hey guys, I'm glad y'all found your way over. Juan, good to see you. Lost Cause, Daniel, what you sipping tonight, fellas? And Looks like Lost Cause poured a signatory 1988 Blair Athol 25, only single malt I have from them. Wow, man, that is something else. If you don't mind me asking, what did it run you price wise? Was it a recent purchase, Lost Cause, or was it something that you've had in the closet for a while and you decided to open it up since we were doing Blair Athol tonight? As far as I'm concerned, I'm not sure what malt's going to do, but um, I told him that I just had to take a closer look at this distillery. It's just too good to pass up. Um, Hey, Whiskey Ace and Meister French, good to see you as well. Back over from Malt's Happy Hour. Teddy for more whiskey. Oh, ready for more whiskey chat. He's Teddy and ready. Hope you didn't get too much of an early start. Our Big 10 at the moment, nothing crazy. 180. Wow, about 3 months ago. That sounds like a great price if you enjoy it. For a 25-year-old, Blair Athol is a great distillery bottle. I'm trying to remember if I've ever had any independent bottlings. Independent bottlings usually depend on the independent bottler, of course. Signatory is notably always a pretty good one. I would think a Signatory 1988 Blair Athol 25 would be kick ass. Tell me what the notes are you get there, Lost Cause. Give kind of a mini review if you don't mind on the side, and I'd be happy to take a look at it if I can. Good to see you, Andrew Page, as well. Probably sitting at the liquor store for a long time. Yeah, for that, sadly, for that price, it doesn't seem unreasonable at all. I mean, it seems kind of cheap actually for 25-year-old. What's the ABV on it? I'm curious, Mr. Cause. And hmm. Yeah, it's intriguing. It's just one of those stories that you don't hear about. I would have not have known about them if it wasn't for Aquaviti. I think he was the one that when he did like a Flora and Fauna bottle series, talked about the ins and outs of some of them, and I'm kind of just going down the same journey he went to see if I have this similar experience. So far, so good. So far, the stories that he thought had the better um, juice just in general, I think he was onto something with that. Hey, Whiskey Straight Out, good to see you, man. And Silverlock Whiskey Club, good to see you. Too Slow, wow. Mark, you single? Wow, there's a lot of guys. Don Holland, good to see you, man. Anybody else a fan of Blair Athol? Anybody else never had them before? Let me know your experience if you're intrigued. If not, what you thought. If you've had independents only, if you've ever had this distillery bottle, this is the only distillery bottle that I'm aware of that exists. If you know of any other ones there might be an older one, maybe that's 20, 25 years old, but at this point, I have not seen one. It's probably one of those unicorn bottles if it exists, put it that way. Oh, lovely nose, man. I'll get into more notes when Malt arrives so I can kind of share it with him, because I don't think when he's doing his whiskey happy hour, I don't think he's able to watch the short review, but check it out if you haven't already. I always do a short review before I do the long discussion and get more into the intricacies of the different notes and really dig deep into the craft, if it's good or not, that type of stuff. So that's my beef. Color and chill filtering on the Flora and Fauna bottles, I'm not happy with. Other than that, there are some gems to definitely take a look. Yeah, to have a Blair Athol for straight. Okay, having a Teeling malt. I've not had a Blair Athol. Not familiar with it for Whiskey Lock. Okay, this should be interesting. 59% on the wow, on that Blair Athol 25. If that's not kick ass, man, I'm gonna be surprised, because Signatory usually knows how to do a good independent malt, and we'll talk about it in a bit. So give me some notes, or Lost Cause, and tell me what you think. Let's get Mr. Eric in. How you doing, man?
What's up?
I snuck up on you, didn't I?
That's the way I like it, man. You're good. Happy Tuesday, man. Let's get into it. Cheers.
Oh yes, it's a big cheers. I got an early start, as you can tell with my pour. it's a little. It's
Ain't nothing wrong with that, man. Ain't nothing wrong with that. It's what else are you gonna do? We live in a pandemic world.
It's getting a little short already. I'll have to make another big pour.
Yeah. Good to see you, buddy. How are you, man?
Pretty good. Just happy that I got couple new bottles in with the Blair
Yeah,
Athol and the
we were
also
emailing a
the
little bit. I was mentioning on the happy hour that you were getting into some Blair Athol tonight, and that's a distillery that I've not had, and so I was mentioning to folks that this will be a good opportunity for us to learn about a new distillery. If anybody on the channel, I see some folks here already that were over there, so which is cool. Yeah, hi again, Al. What's up, Silverlock? Andrew Page. Yeah, we're real interested to hear about it, man. So you picked up a new Blair Athol, a 12-year-old indie bottling, and something else.
No, it's actually a distillery bottling.
Okay.
Yeah, the Flora and Fauna series are all Diageo distillery bottles, which is good. The only bad thing is the craft. They do coloring and chill filtering on their stuff back in at least this period of time. But with that said, this is Blair Athol, like you said, it used to be called Eldauer. It's a 12-year-old Flora and Fauna. It's a Highland, and ex sherry and ex bourbon. The 43%, so not a high ABV, but I tell you what, what piqued my interest was Aquavite was the one that got me into Blair Athol. And after his success with Inchgour, after I tried that and liked it and appreciated the complexity of it, I thought, well, he's batting 1 for 1. Let's see if he bats for 2 for 2. And sure enough, he's batting 2 for 2. So it's a very good complex. I mean, there's leather and ginger and dates. I'm kind of going off my notes that I have written down here. Sandalwood and even some French fries with chives, some cinnamon, and some apricots on the nose. There's a lot going on just for that alone. And then we get to
man, wow, it sounds super interesting. As I was mentioning on to folks when we were chatting earlier, so Blair Athol is not a distillery that I have any familiarity with. I've heard about it, and I think the only one I ever see here in Philly, South Jersey, is independent bottling from Signatory. It's an 11-year-old. And so that's the only one. I'm not sure if you've had that, but again, like I'm not familiar with their profile, and the fact that you have a distillery bottle is even more interesting because again, like I've also heard of a 21-year-old, again, Signatory. So they're all indie releases. So really interested to hear about this, man. And so far it sounds pretty complex, pretty good. Is this your first Blair Athol?
It is. I mean, I've had this before a long time ago. It was through just a tasting. I never had my own bottle. This is my first bottle of the same juice, and I'm really glad that I got it so far. And just to help you out, there's also a guy at Lost Cause in here that's got a 1988. He's got a 1988 Blair Athol. It's 25 years at 59% ABV, and I'm like, what did you get? What'd you have to pay for it? He said 180. I'm like, dude, that's got to be glorious.
What?
I would think for 180, a 25-year-old at 59%.
Man, that ABV is incredible. So it's funny, and we can get into this more later. But my good buddy Andrew Page, he's in the chat here too. So first of all, he was drinking from a distillery I had never heard of before called Tormore. Mm-hmm. We can talk a little bit about that later, but he had a cask strength at 22 years old, and it was like 40%, 47%. And I have a bottle of what's up, Loch Ness? What's up, man?
We finally made it. Man, I haven't seen that guy in ages.
Yeah,
I was hoping he wasn't. I was afraid he was dead or something.
I see him on Twitter every once in a while, but yeah. So I have a cask strength Lafroig 25, which is 48%, and my assumption was, they barrel it at cask strength, but you age it for 25 years. It's, you're just going to have the oxidization is going to reduce that ABV. But you just said he has a Blair Athol at 25 years at 59%. I mean, that goes against kind of what my assumption was. But have you had any like heavily aged single malts that are at cask strength that are at that high ABV?
I don't think so, and you're right. That is one of the things. It's like I had a Highland Park that was a 25 exclusive malts that was at cask strength, and when I heard the words cask strength, I thought, oh, okay, that means it's probably going to be between 51 and 57, maybe 60%, and it was a little lower. It was closer to like 49 or 50.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And it was the age, I thought, that was the reason why it was a lower ABV. I'm not sure how in the world.
Right, I mean, you have to barrel that. I mean, if you go by the law of like oxidization or saying it's going to reduce the ABV, Man, they must have barreled that at the highest possible strength or something. They still have it at 59% at 25 years. That's incredible. That must be one of the best whiskeys I've ever heard of.
Hopefully he likes it. He's just digging in. He says it makes him think of, let's see, makes me think of, it's the peated portion of Walker Blue. I guess he's talking about what they use for peat, but mine's not a peated whiskey. This is just it doesn't taste like a Highland, even though it's a Highland whiskey. I'll get into that in a second. The palate brings us oranges, raisins. It's got a thin mouth coat, but not as thin as a Glengoyne, but it's still nice. It's got a nice waxiness to it. Mm-hmm. It's got some menthol in the back, some oaky properties, and a lot of molasses and honey at the same time.
Ex-bourbon? Is it all ex-bourbon?
It's both ex-sherry and ex-bourbon.
Okay.
And the finish is medium length, but it's got a really nice pralines and cream kind of feel with black pepper and a really nice waxiness to it.
Yeah.
I'll take a little break for now, but I'll get into what the water adds to it is exceptionally good. It's incredible. Yeah.
Where did you end up? What was your score on this one?
It's a 3.75 out of 5. I'll go ahead and tell you that the water for the nose adds some savory and herbal notes like basil and pine needles. The palate, it got like a high quality English milk chocolate note to it with some custard and buttery notes. And then the finish wasn't as good with the water. It was drier, but it had a little bit, it's not peated, but it had a little bit of slight smokiness to it on the end. $40 plus shipping, dude. $40 plus shipping. What? That's it. It's a no-brainer. If you don't have this on your bar, you're crazy. I mean, I know the people that as soon as they hear colored and chill filtered, they're instantly like, this in the low ABV.
I'm not like that. Man. I mean, there are exceptions to every rule. And this sounds like it might be one.
And the 43% ABV is another thing that people might look their nose down on. But I tell you what, a drop of water at 43 and 40, sometimes it's rare, but it can't happen. This is one of those rarities. It can really breathe a lot of life. And I think a 3.75 out of 5. That was that close to saying 4, only because the craft really does burn me. But I think you should definitely check it out. I gave you a kind of a little a cheat sheet to get that. So I definitely, if you're in the mood for something different, this is definitely not for a beginning whiskey drinker. If you've already had some sherry, you've already been through the Highlands of Speyside, then this is the step you need to take, I think, for the next level. This tastes more like a Campbelltown without so much funk. There's some meaty, savory notes to it, but it doesn't really have a lot of funk. There's a little sulfur, but it's not heavy. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, that sounds interesting, man. And speaking of like great prices for whiskeys, I came across something this week. We were talking, we always kind of, kick things off talking about new bottles. I did get myself something new, and I cracked it open on my happy hour just before this.
Uh-oh.
And here it is. It is the Loch Lomond 18-year-old. I got this single malt scotch, 46% non-chill filtered for, drum roll, $60 plus tax.
Isn't that crazy?
The cheapest 18 years old single malt scotch I have ever seen.
Yeah.
So I just had to buy it. And my, of course, disposition, having been sipping scotch for a while now. And I see, some folks. What's up, Richie? Whiskey Ace. Yeah, Whiskey Ace just mentioned he was looking at it. This is like on average. Now I got it a little cheaper just because this store had it at a good price. But this is average $65 to $75. You show me any 18-year-old scotch you'll find for that price. I just had to get it. Plus 46% non-chill filtered. I'm like, give me a break. Have you ever had Loch Lomond before?
I have, and it's one of those distilleries that it's kind of funny. Like, I've had 2 different ones, and they're very different. The Loch Lomond 12, the basic one, I've had that, and the thing that really I didn't really get into is I got a lot of soapy kind of notes to it. So with that, I thought, well, I'm gonna try. I tried the 18, but it's an Inchmurn version, which is a peated version.
More peated. Yeah.
And I went with the local Loman Inchmurn 18. It's good. It just really had a thin mouth coat to me. It had some nice notes. I think I gave it like a 3.25 to 3.5 out of 5 as far as when I was looking at it. But I never had the regular 18. What did you think so
Yeah.
far?
So that's really like what you just mentioned is really interesting. Like, I mean, a 3.25 for an 18-year-old Scotch. I mean, what was that? What did that Inchmurren 18 cost you? Like 80?
It was a little pricey. I want to say at
Oh,
least. I think I want to. I'm trying to think if it was up to. I had to go back. I don't want to say the wrong thing. For some reason, I'm thinking 180, but I don't know if it was that high or not. I have to go back.
holy cow. Okay.
Yeah.
So I just cracked this. I let it sit open for, 15, 20 minutes before I sipped it. It's not bad. It's not great. It's interesting. And so,
did you already do a review on it, or does it come?
no, I'll review it eventually. This is a whiskey, honestly, and this is to its credit, to be completely frank. I'm going to need a little time with it. I get a lot of earthy root vegetable notes, mushroom. I think I was saying squash, pumpkin.
Nice.
There's also some like spice. We're not thinking it's not a pumpkin spice latte, right? But there's some spice to it, some baking spice. There's some sharpness. There's some green apple. There's actually a decent amount of complexity and an incredibly long finish. It's just that the core of it, and you get a lot of new mixed spirit. It doesn't drink like an 18. I would say if you poured this for me, I would guess it was more of a 15. It's not. It doesn't drink like an 18, but it is not a bad whiskey. And I think this is going to be really interesting to see what happens to it as time goes on. I'm not running, and saying this is the best value in Scotch, but for an 18-year-old single malt at this price, I couldn't say no. And I don't regret it. And
do you get any like funky florals or any funky like soapy
not
notes
floral,
from it?
but there is a bit of peat smoke to this. There's peat smoke to this. It's slight, but it's there. I didn't get a lot of floral, but
any soapy notes at all? Like
no soapy notes.
Okay, good. That's one thing that
a lot of complexity. And I'm assuming you're saying soapy in the sense of like bar of ivory soap, sharp, edgy. There's an alcohol edge to this that is clearly not something you would expect from an 18-year-old. But I'm telling you, at $65, there's not a lot of fruit sweetness. Again, you get green apple, but I don't know what this is aged in. I'm guessing it's all ex-bourbon. This is an interesting whiskey, man. And at the price,
did you say it was 46%, 48?
46% non-chill.
That's perfect, yeah.
$60-some. I'm not telling, again, I haven't done a full review. I'll do that I'll give it its day in court. It was a neck pour. But there's enough here that intrigues me. And I would honestly say, if you see this in that sub $70 range, I mean, this is cheaper than a Tomatin 18, which is like the cheapest single malt I've seen. Grab a bottle.
Yeah, it sounds like it might be worth a gamble with that. Have you like the Inchmurren? If I'm trying to remember if I might be wrong, but I think the Inchmurren is like their middle level peat. Is the Inchmoan the real heavily peated stuff? Because I know they have an Inchmoan as well.
This is less peated. I think the Inchmurren and Inchmoan are more heavily peated, if I'm not mistaken.
I gotcha. I just couldn't remember if the Inchmoan was the most or if the Inchmurren was the most. It's funny because they're huge. Like Local Lomond is huge, and they the Inchmurren, I know they started for like I think it was like a Taiwanese market or something they were trying to get into.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I have to look, but it's really good to see you there, Loch Ness. I just saw out of the corner of my eye that he was out of commission for about 5 months, but really glad to see you back, man. I was worried about you. I was about to send out do a APB or something.
Yeah, great to see Loch Ness, man. It's been a while, buddy. Santa Cruz's in the house too.
Hey, Santa, good to see you, man. Have you ever had a Blair Athol, and what's your take on it? A lot of the people I've asked if they've had it before, they say no, which is interesting. But hopefully, a lot of them will take at least a little 45, $50 gamble on the 12-year, and maybe even a good independent bottling of Blair Athol. I haven't had one, but I've heard the signatory ones are pretty good. And any of the decent independent, people bottlers should be, I would think, pretty good.
Yeah. So I mean, you haven't had that 11-year-old Blair Athol signatory, have you? Has anybody in the chat had that 11 Blair Athol signatory? Because like I was mentioning earlier, in anticipation for you doing this review, I was like, seeing if I could find a Blair Athol. I didn't end up buying it, but I've seen it. I'm curious if it's worth a pickup.
Yeah, to get the official bottle, this one is the only official bottling they have. They don't have any like older years or any other types, and you have to pretty much order it overseas to get it. But Independence, I have seen I think Exclusive Malts might have one or two. I want to say I might have even seen like a Chieftains or oh man, maybe a Blackadder. I would definitely try the Blackadder if I could, or the Signatory. Did Lost Cause ever say anything about what he thought about that 25? I want to see if he had any more notes on it.
Oh yeah, hopefully we'll hear about it, because that sounds like the most amazing whiskey and deal I've heard of.
It sounded like to me too with that ABV.
With a sharpness to it, he says.
Say that again.
I don't know if he's talking about a oaky and sweet with a sharpness to it. Oh, and Don Holland's got a Glen. Yeah, the Glengoyne 10. Right on,
nice.
Doesn't drink as hot as the ABV.
I had the I think I've had the 12 and the 18, 21, 25. I've had a lot of the older ones, and I think I might have had a 12. I don't think I've had a 10 before. Is it worth the price for that? How do you feel about that one, Don? Just let us know if you're a big fan, or if you're kind of like, oh, I got buyer's remorse, or how that goes. Love the walnuts you get from this guy. There's a lot of good walnuts going on too.
Yeah, that's interesting. So this is your second review of the Flora and Fauna range. Do you know, like offhand, what all is in that Flora and Fauna range, or the Flora and Fauna line that Diageo does? I'm curious.
It differs to an extent, and I'll tell you in a second. 1 second. Yeah. They had a line a while back with a lot more bottles, and they have got it down a bit. They started out with, and I don't know what year they started doing this. If anyone knows what year they started doing these, I think it was 1991. They started doing the series in 1991, and it contained 22 different whiskeys at 43%. And these are a lot of the old ones they had. They had like Altmore, Mortlock, Linkwood, Rosebank, Kalila, Speyburn, Pittivac, Kleinleash, Inchgour, Ben Rennis, Royal Brockla, Balmanick, Dollyween, Eberfeldy, Mocknamore, and Dufftown. Those are some of the major.
Man, Diageo owns like the entire world.
They pretty much own like I think one of the most amount of distilleries that I can think of. And then in 2001 they did a release again.
Bottle kill alert.
What is it?
The Cadboll estate is done. Anyway, continue.
What was your overall take on that one? Pretty good, not worth it, or what did you
Solid,
think?
not worth it. I'd say buy it if it's sub $70. Other than that, it's all right. I mean, I'm a big Glenmorangie fan, but it's not. Look, I mean, and this gets into the Tewa stuff, but like the whole line on this Cadboll estate is that it's a 15-year-old. Great, all ex bourbon. Okay, it is. All the barley is from the quote Cadboll estate, which is on the property of Glenmorangie. So you get into this whole Tewa thing, whether or not the barley is imparting some type of unique flavor or whatever. It's very honey. It's very Glenmorangie, creamy. I I think I gave it a 3, maybe a little higher. It's all right. I'm not saying go out and rush and buy this. If you find this $70, 15-year-old, you like Glenmorangie, and you know what you're getting into with a Glenmorangie, pick it up. Otherwise, I think you can pass on this one.
I gotcha. That's not bad though. It's definitely worth maybe, like you said, a look if you find a deal on it.
Yeah, it's not a bad whiskey. It's just there's nothing really amazing.
Is it only going to be available this year? Do you know?
Well, so they say it's a limited release, but like I've been seeing it everywhere.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's probably limited to like 50,000 bottles or something crazy.
Right. Yeah, limited is relative, especially with a distillery like Glenmorangie.
I wish they would find the middle.
I got a nice, as we would say, quig size dram of this to finish off tonight.
I just poured a little medium.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the thing with the. Oh man, what were you just saying a second ago? Sorry.
About Glenmorangie?
Yeah, it's tough with the yearly ones versus the ones that you can get all the time.
Oh yeah. So this is not their private edition. So this isn't their newest private edition. This is something else entirely. This is just some like rando release that they did. And again, the whole angle on it was all the barley is sourced from the Cadwell estate, which is on the Glenmorangie property. So again, it's getting into this like terroir thing, right? Like, oh, because the barley's from a specific place, it's going to have a unique flavor. Again, I don't know where you stand on that or if you have a lot of opinions on it. I generally like, some people think it's marketing. Some people think, yeah, terroir is a totally real thing. I don't know. I'm not necessarily noticing anything significantly different in this Glenmorangie 15 than if you poured me a glass of Glenmorangie 18. Would I notice the difference? I don't know.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, it depends. I think it's certain areas, like if you're right next to each other, like farms that are like right down the road from each other, probably not so much. But if you're
big on that, right? I mean, like Rockside Farm and whatever, Hillside Farm, and the Springbank did the local barley thing.
There's the Bear Barley from Brook Lottie has the Bear Barley, I think, recently. And
Brook Lottie is all about it. Kilhoman's got a little bit of that too. Isla Barley. Well.
I definitely noticed the difference as far as nose and palate differences. But do I like the Isla Barley more than the Moncure Bay? No, I actually
Scottish barley. Like the Brook Lottie's got the Scottish barley and the Isla Barley. That they were doing the Port Charlottes. Have you ever had those two?
Yeah, and I do notice a difference. I just don't know if one would be better than another. It's just, one might be a little more vegetal maybe than another one, or one might be more effervescent and white peppery than another one type of thing. But it's kind of like the differences just between distilleries, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So how much it affects it, that's a good question. But I do notice a difference between the different types, we'll put it that way. Good to see you, Dram, dude. How you doing? And what are you drinking?
Oh, Zach, what's up, buddy?
And have you had any Blair Athol there, Dram, dude? I'm just curious. Or any Loch Lomond. I can't remember if he's a fan of Loch Lomond or not. I think he had a good bottle. I'm sure he probably had.
It's funny you bring this up. So when we were chatting on my live happy hour, like nobody, Whiskey Pilgrim was on, Daniel, Ben Demon Hunter, a bunch of folks. Nobody had ever heard of Tormore. Until Dram Dude came in, and Dram Dude was like, "Yeah, I have heard of Tormore," and Peter White too. Those are the only ones that had heard of it. So I was like, these are the folks I expected to know anything about Tormore. So they're also the folks I would expect that might know a thing or two about Blair Athol.
That's one I'd like to get at my hands on a distillery bottle of Tormore. That might be extremely difficult because I've only seen independent bottlings for those.
Yeah, guys. The indies, right? Yeah, Gordon and MacPhail. And I think there's a Berry Brothers and Rudd might have one too. Yeah,
I think the one I had was an Alexander Murray bottle. I want to say it was either an 18 or a 21, but it wasn't like expensive. you know, I shouldn't say it wasn't expensive. It wasn't like above $200, put it that way.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't like crazy money for, 18 to 21. It was decent. It actually has some really interesting herbal and fruit, like melon notes. It had a lot of like honeydew, cantaloupe, watermelon, and it had a lot of like basil and rosemary and some other interesting notes to it. And
Yeah.
it was one of the better off the path distilleries that I remember dealing with. It
Oh,
was
interesting. Okay, so you have some familiarity with it. That's cool to know.
Yeah, it wasn't like thankfully as vegetal as like a Glen Spey or Glen Ord and some of those Mocknamore, some of those off the wall ones that I just couldn't get into. But it was definitely one of the better ones I think to try an independent bottling from.
So you brought up Alexander Murray, and as somebody who this year especially has been diving in more with independent bottlers, that's kind of where I'm at in my journey. This has kind of been, year 4, so to speak, of like really getting in with my journey. I've been checking out more and more of the independent bottlings, and Alexander Murray is one which I've been hesitant to purchase for 2 reasons, and these are probably not good reasons. Is number one is like I see them a lot on the shelves at Costco and at Total Wine, and I see things like Bunnahabhain 20-year-olds, Dalmore 20-year-old, and they're all cast strength. Like I check all the boxes, but like it's like I see them too much to be like, is this a good independent bottler, or are they just one of these like, are they some type of company that just bottles stuff that is, they buy some crappy barrels and sell it as an independent bottling just because like, and I'm not hating on Costco, but it's just like I see them at Costco quite a bit or at Total Wine. And so I'd be curious, like, Telex having kind of the little more experience than even I do for that matter. What is your overall, again, taking all variation into consideration, your overall like gold star independent bottlers versus the ones you think are more suspect?
Yeah, to me, Alexander Murray would be kind of in the middle. They're not well known for having the greatest, consistency across the board, but they're also not as bad as always having a lemon, if you know what I mean, in the mix. So what I would do is I would definitely, if you can, the Signatories, the Adelphis, the Black Adders, the the exclusive malts. I'm probably missing I'm sure some in there. Those are the ones I hear being really good. The ones that are kind of middle of the road are definitely your Alexander Murray. I've had a couple bottles. I had a Tormore and I had a Glen Keith, which is another distillery a lot of people probably don't even know about. And it was a 21 or 23-year-old. It was reasonably priced, and I was like you. I was kind of like, well, it's got all the boxes. It's cast strength. It
Right.
is, a 20-year-old at least. It's just, wow. And the good news is with Alexander Murray for both bottles, I didn't feel cheated. I didn't feel like I was missing out on anything. I guess I'm not sure if I got lucky or if it's just they're pretty good. I mean, they are reasonably priced. So even though you're getting like a 20, 18, 21, 23-year-old whiskey, you're not paying a lot for it. And it might be the best cast they might have. But as far as a good representation of the distillery, I would much rather you get an Alexander Murray Glen Keith than a Glen Keith 10 distillery bottle, if you want to be. It's kind of
where do you like? So in that analysis, and I think this is great info for like a lot of the folks in the chat because maybe they're where I'm at in my journey, or maybe a little more advanced or a little less advanced for that matter. Like, where do you put things like? Again, this is very general, obviously. But like, where do you put things like Gordon MacPhail or Berry Brothers and Rudd?
and it looks like Dram Dude kind of concurred that they have a lot of stuff. It's okay. There's always a few gems in there, which he seems like he's kind of agreeing with that. I was probably, fairly lucky with the bottles that I was able to pick up. But they're kind of like, they have hits and misses. The ones that always have misses to me so far, Battle Hill, I would stay away from.
Oh yeah, that's another one I see at Total Wine.
Battle Hill, I would stay away from. So far, I've never had a really good bottle from those guys. The Berry Brothers and Rudd, I mean, they're one of those I think that have hits and misses, and I've actually had a miss by them at some point. With Gordon MacPhail, I'd say it's the same kind of thing. There's hits and misses, but there's
so more fall in that Alexander Murray range for you.
There are more misses though than the.
Oh, interesting.
I'm sorry.
I have one Gordon MacPhail, which is a Kalila 11 cast strength, which I think is fantastic. But I haven't had a lot of other ones, and so this is something that's really interesting to hear about.
I just want to clarify the misses are more with your Battle Hills, the Berry Brothers and Rudd, but the Gordon MacPhails, they've had some that are on the more hits and misses, not just the misses kind of thing. The classic casks ones have always been misses for me. I never have. I mean, they have some crazy years, like 23, 21 years, but they're always like $100 or $150, and it's like it's just not the best version of what you're really looking for. I would stick with the ones that like Adelphi, Signatory, the ones people really tell you about the most.
That's really good to know. I appreciate that, and it puts things in a little perspective for me because like I said, I see a lot of these, and I'm like, as somebody who's not as I've done a little bit of research, but not as super well versed in the independent bottlings. I'm definitely trying to navigate my way through that, right? Because of course, the idea of that boutique whiskey company is another example. Well, they only do the 375s. It's like, man, I got a Port Charlotte 14 right here from that boutique whiskey, and they have like an Ardbeg 12 and a Lafroy 14, and I'm like, okay, this is good. But then there you see these, Battle Hill is one I see a lot, and I'm like, not sure what to think about that. And so it's good to kind of get some perspective on how to navigate that stuff.
That's another good one. That boutique whiskey company one. Those are good ones that I've never been burned by any of the bottlings from those guys.
Yeah, I haven't yet either, and I got a couple of them. So I have a. There's one Gordon MacPhail, and I haven't opened it yet. It's a Ball Blair. I have a Ball Blair 21-year-old. It's only 43%, which is like, but I've heard good things about it. Which is a Gordon MacPhail. Have you had that one by chance?
I have not had any independent versions of Ball Blair before. I've only had their distillery bottlings. I've had a few different ones. I've had at least 4 different distillery bottles, but I've never tried an independent Ball Blair. Did you like it?
I haven't opened that one yet. I'm going to soon. I literally just got it. It was like $130, so I had to get it because it was 21 years old. I was like, kidding me? I got it probably a month ago. I just haven't opened it yet.
What was the bottler again?
Gordon MacPhail.
Okay, they were saying that they.
I don't remember what it is. Oh, so Peter White actually just dropped in and said, Whiskey is talking about the Four Roses Selects. Yeah. Oh man, I could get into the Four Roses picks. The Gordon MacPhail cast strength Ball Blairs are off the scale. God, yeah, I can imagine. I don't have one that's cast strength, but yeah, I can only imagine.
I think Santa had a good hint for the Alexander Murray bottles. If you find the black labels, they're usually the ones that have been stellar. The ones I had were red labels. I'm not sure if it makes a difference.
Yeah, the red label is the only one I've ever seen.
I'll have to look out and see if I find a black label. Maybe they're higher priced, but maybe they're still really reasonable and good. We'll have to see. I mean, the red ones were good enough for where I would try a black one, if that makes any sense to you, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's helpful. And definitely helps inform, because as you were, bringing this all the way back around, talking about this delicious Blair Athol you got your hands on.
Oh, man.
Have you, like I said, I see this Blair Athol 11 signatory, it's probably the only Blair Athol I ever run into. And, curious if have you seen that one around your neck of the woods? And is that something you're considering buying now that you've had this 12?
I have not had any independent bottlings of Blair Athol, but I'm wondering if, sorry, I'm kind of moving things around monitors here. I'm wondering if I could find some notes on that one particular for you. Give me 1 second. You said that it was, 1 second. Let's see. Blair Athol. And you said it was 11, right?
Yep.
And it was, which version?
Signatory.
Signatory. Signatory. Let me look up something real fast. Here we go. Do you remember if it was a 1998 or a 2007?
I don't, but it's probably 2007.
God, that makes more sense because it's 2018 versus 2009. It looks like the 2007. Yeah, it's got to be it. It's signatory vintage. It's unchill filtered. 11 years hogshead type of cask. 46% ABV. And do you remember what the price on that was by chance?
It was like 120, 130 bucks. I mean, it was like stupid cheap, and it was 21 years old, so I had to get it.
Yeah, for 46% ABV in a hogshead cask, 11 years old. I'm intrigued. I think you've got a good one for because it's a signatory vintage.
So Dram Dude actually just dropped in on this, and he's right. It's the Gordon MacPhail. It's called the MacPhail's collection. That's the one. It's called the MacPhail's.
Oh.
So I don't know what that means in terms of if that's different than what you're talking about, but that's the one it is. It's called the MacPhail's collection. 21 years old, Ball Blair, 43%. Yeah.
Let me see if I can find something real fast here. MacPhail's collection 21, and that's a Blair Athol.
So while he does that, I do have to do a shameless plug here. I don't do this very frequently, but I am 13 subs away from the Magic 500. And as I've mentioned on my happy hour, if I hit 500 by next week, I am going to do my 100th review, which will be next week live, which is going to be of the Highland Park, the new Highland Park 21.
Oh, man, I can't wait.
And I can release. So if any of y'all haven't subbed and you like my content, head over to Malt Muser Whiskey Reviews and sub. If I, like I said, I'm not pushing it hard, but if I can hit 500 by then, I'll do my review live and we'll have a good chat about it. So shameless plug, done, over with. You won't hear it from me again, but I'm going to do it because I'm getting so darn close. I hope you're sub Telex because I'm sub to your channel.
I am sub to you, and hopefully, I told him I was looking it up, and only 30% of the people that watch are sub to me. So I'm like, hey, if you haven't subbed yet, definitely subscribe if you don't mind. It definitely helps out.
Do that, y'all. For sure.
Is this sound familiar? Is it Blair Athol, 21-year-old, 1997 Connoisseur's Choice, Gordon MacPhail?
Yeah, that's familiar, but that's the 21, and I've only seen that in one place. That one I have seen, but I've not jumped on it because it was expensive. But the Connoisseur's Choice,
was it above 132 euros? Let me see something. Let me see what euros constitutes.
Blair Athol 11 is, so here it is. I've seen it at Total Wine. It's Berry Brothers and Rudd.
150. It's about 148, so we'll say 150 for that one. Is what I see it where you could order it for the 21 1997 Connoisseur's Choice is 56.8%. 253 bottles were produced of it. And it's got some nice notes. Wow. It's a hogshead for 21 years, distilled in 97, bottled in 2018. And they tell you about some of the notes you get off of it. It sounds pretty good. That would be really tempting for 132, so it'd be like 150 American. But
150 for a 21-year-old?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's stupid. I mean, that's great price. Considering where things are at nowadays, especially as a cast strength, that's almost a must buy.
And the only reason it's so cheap is because these guys are just not known. I mean, if it was Macallan, you'd be paying, probably a good $50 more just for the name alone. You know.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think a Macallan, like a 175 of Macallan 12, is probably more expensive than that.
There you go. Isn't that crazy? It's like, this is good juice. I mean, I would be surprised if it wasn't good. Let me see if they have any reviews on this guy. They do kind of like their own little character, deal. They have an 11-year-old 2007 cask Signatory Venture.
Why don't you put that on? I got to go get a water refill because I'm
Sure.
all out. I'll be back in about 2 minutes.
No problem, man. Yeah, I was trying to find the one he was talking about, but I cannot find that anywhere. But that's the kind of the good and bad thing with these. Let me go back here. That's the kind of the good or bad thing with these is there's so many independent bottlings and there's so many versions that they even do per distillery with the years and the cask they use, and it gets confusing. There's so many versions. Whiskey Base is a good resource if you're looking for a particular bottle. Usually, Fine Drams is another one that I've used before to try to find information on independent bottlings of particular deals. So let's see. Let me go back here and kind of catch up with some comments. Fells Collection, yeah. For 43%, wow, that is crazy. I can't remember if yeah, it's a Highland, but it doesn't taste like a Highland. It tastes more like a I want to say it's more like a Campbelltown, but it doesn't have the funk, but it does have leather. It's got like leather was the first note on the nose I got. It's got some really nice cinnamon spicy notes, black pepper, cinnamon, nutmeg. It's got a lot of the sherry characteristics, but it also has a lot of oakiness, a lot of really nice dates and apricots and fruits going on. It's got a lot of chocolate, a lot of savory notes. I even like somehow got French fries out of the craziness. It was pretty good. So I definitely think it's definitely, even if you're not a Highland fan per se, I would definitely take a stab at it. I don't think you're going to have any problems. Just answer that question there for you, Daniel. It's Highland. Let me go back to malt here.
Hey, I'm back.
Yeah, they were just. It's funny because this is a Highland, but it does not taste anything like a Highland would. It tastes more like a Campbelltown without the funkiness. It's got the leathery goodness to it, but it doesn't have. And it does have a little sulfur, but it's not like in your face. You know what I mean?
Interesting. I actually have a couple questions about that. I am so I finished up my Glenmorangie. I'm pouring. This has probably been 4 months since I've had that. This is the committee release Ardbeg Drum.
Nice.
Which I just added to my my Isla, or not my Isla, my smoky peated Infinity bottle. But I'm curious, and this might be something that folks in the chat got some opinions on as well. Regarding this, like, you were just kind of alluding to this regional difference. Do you feel like you notice a significant enough difference between scotches in a way that you can identify their region? Or do you think, conversely, that the region thing is a little bit more fluid than maybe folks think? I, for the record, fall a little bit more on the fluid side, specifically in two regions, and that's Speyside and Highland. But I'm curious kind of where you fall on that. Like you were mentioning, like this doesn't taste quite like a Highland. Like, do you feel like you can tell that there's some specific notes that you would identify as like the likelihood of it being a Highland? I know that there's some base differences, but curious kind of where you land on that.
It's not like 90 to 100%. It's more like 70%.
It's so significant, yeah.
Typically, Highlands are more floral. They're usually even keel. They're not a lot of sherry, not a lot of peat. There's not a lot of really anything that's a Highland influence, other than they're nice, either like floral or slightly herbal. They're light in flavor. That's typically what I do get from 70% of the Highlands, and the same kind of goes across the board. Isla's got its properties, and Lowlands is
right.
Lowlands are usually pretty team and even triples the still when it comes to like the whole Auchentoshan thing. But there's some sneaky ones, like Bladnoch is one of those that tastes more like a Speyside than it does a Lowland. And you can go across the board and find and there's always like at least 2 or 3 exceptions to the rule. And Campbelltown only has 3 distilleries left, so it's kind of tough to really push them into a corner. But the islands do typically have more brininess and more smoke to them across the board. The Islas typically do have the most peat and the most,
Definitely.
So
Yeah,
they're
I'm definitely with you on the Isla thing. I mean, but so here's an interesting challenge to that. I mean, if you poured a Bunnahabhain 12 and a Highland Park 12, for example, like you would not be able to identify, at least I would postulate, you can't identify that like one of those is an Isla and one isn't.
no, and you're right. No, for
Well,
me, and I
even
don't think
maybe an
most
old
people
Palmer
could.
12. I mean, like, could you really tell the difference between, like, in other words, it's more about the style of distillation than the region, which okay, so like there's a style of distillation that is done in certain regions, which connotes this idea of like the region has a style, but really it's more just about the distillation than anything else. So like if you take a Bunnahabhain 12 and compare it to an Old Paltney 12, like I don't know if there's a big difference. I mean, or compare like a Glenmorangie La Santa to a Glenlivet 12, like, or a Glenlivet with a sherry finish, like between Speyside and Highland, like, can you really tell any region difference that you would describe it as such?
There is, only if you focus on the core make itself. That's the only time you can really tell. And you're right, like the cask maturation and that is definitely more, I think, influence on the taste and the experience. But with that said, if you give somebody a Bunnahabhain, and I have a good example of this. I have a friend now, a new friend, we'll say, an acquaintance that I met through Stephen Connor, who was supposed to be here tonight. I'm not sure where he is, but he's fired.
Canceled. No, it's canceled. He's canceled.
Oh, okay. He's canceled. He's got a friend named Mo that's really cool. And Mo always can detect a Bunnahabhain because he always gets like a banana pepper type of green pepper kind of note from a Bunnahabhain. No matter what it is, could be like a Moyne peated. It could be an 18. It could be a 12. It could be even I think an independent. And somehow he knows that if he gets this one distinct green pepper, I think it was what it is that he gets from it, or some sort of banana pepper, he knows it's Bunnahabhain. I'm not sure quite how he does it, but some people I think are susceptible to certain things about a make core on a distillery, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and that makes sense. But I also think that I guess where I like run into the question is, does that mean anything in terms of its quote unquote like regional style, right?
You're right.
I think it's like a historical thing, obviously, and I think somebody mentioned that, and I think that's true. And I do think, like, obviously, like there are differences, generally speaking, within the regions, right? So, for example, Isla single malts tend to be heavier peat and smoke, versus Lowland, which is, more triple distilled quasi Irish whiskey. But like, if I poured you blind an Auchentoshan 12 and a Glenmorangie 12, would you be able to say, "Oh, that's a Speyside, that's a Lowland"? Like, I don't know. So like, I do wonder to some degree if it's because of their history become more of a marketing thing than anything. But I'm not sure.
I agree with you to an extent. Like, I don't think, like myself, I don't think I would be able to tell maybe between a Bunnahabhain 12 per se and a Glendronach 12 or whatever, as far as like Highland versus Isla. But Bunnahabhain 12 is not a typical Isla distillery either. If you give me an Ardbeg 10,
true.
If you give me an Ardbeg 10 or a Lefroy 10 or a Lagavulin 8 or any of those, I would definitely be like, oh, that's an Isla versus, there are, like I said, with the Bladnoch being a lowland, it definitely does not taste like a lowland or an Auchentoshan.
Well, like the Glenmorangie, or no, it's not Glenmorangie, Glenlivet Nadura. If I poured you a glass of Glenlivet Nadura peat smoke, the peated 10 or whatever it is, if I poured you the peated Glenlivet Nadura and a glass of Kilhoman Mocker Bay, like, would you be able to say, without knowing anything, like, oh yeah, this is totally the Isla Scotch or not? Like,
Believe it or not, I actually could, because
okay,
once you taste a lot of these other types of peats that you get from like Enoch and you get from
right,
these other guys,
Highland Park,
it's so different. The Isla peat, even within Isla, you'll get so used to it, you'll be able to tell like a Lafroig peat from a Ardbeg peat. I mean,
very true, very true.
it depends. I think on them. But yes, like if you gave me a Balvenie Peat Week 17 or 14 and you gave me a Lafroig 15, I could definitely tell the difference of the peat styles, at least. And I think that's where the whole terroir, thing comes into play, is part of that. It's not, I definitely agree. It's not like, it's not like this far apart. It's more like this
Right.
far apart. You know what I mean?
Right.
You can tell a difference, but it takes some time. It's kind of like a musician. Like, if I play a major scale and I play a Lydian scale, you might not know what I'm talking about, but there's different types of scales. But they're both happy sounding. They're both major-esque, but there's a slight difference. One of them has an extra sharp in it that gives it more of a boost.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. Like, that's a good analogy. And I think Isla is sort of an exception. But I agree with you. I mostly agree with you. I think that makes sense. I guess where it comes into play for me, and where I think there's the most fluidness, is Speyside and Highland. So, for example, like a Glenmorangie versus a Glenfiddich, or a Craigellachie versus an Old Pulteney. Like, if you drank those blind, would you be able to say, not just like each, because I agree with you that every distillery has its own essence, but like, would you be able to say, like, not only do I notice the difference between Old Pulteney and Craigellachie, but I notice that the Craigellachie is Speyside characteristic versus the Old Pulteney is Highland characteristic. That's where I think it's like, so it's like on the meta level, right? Like, it gets like one step beyond. And that's where I think it gets a little bit interesting. Not that I necessarily think overall that it matters, right? Like, nobody's like, I'm not convinced that anybody goes and is like, oh, this is a Highland whiskey. I'm buying the Highland whiskey over this thing that is at Speyside. But there is a lot of deference to this idea that somehow a Speyside whiskey has certain qualities generally, and a Highland does, where my personal opinion is like, well, I think it's a little ambiguous. And these things are maybe more about marketing and history than about anything. But I don't know.
If you sit down and you take the time and you think to yourself, okay, what are the qualities of Old Pulteney? And Old Pulteney is an Islands whiskey, right? Or where are they based out of? I forgot.
Old Pulteney is Wick, so it's Northern Highlands. Yeah,
Highlands. Yeah, that's where you get kind of in. And you talk about Craigellachie. It's like
if Craigellachie 13 and the Old Pulteney 12, you're talking about two barley forward, bourbon aged, sharp, somewhat spicy, salty whiskeys. Like, could you really tell? I don't know.
Here's the answer. Like, if the whiskey follows the profile of the actual region, then the answer is yes. Like, when I think of islands, I think of definitely more maritime notes, more seashell notes. That's where I think instantly Talisker. I mean, and they do follow that, and Aaron has some that follow that kind of realm. And then you think, okay, Speyside is definitely more fruit forward, definitely not as light and floral. If they do follow that path, like a Ball Blair does feel like more like a Speyside than it does a Highland, then I could say the answer is yes. I could definitely tell the difference. But like I said, there are some distilleries that, even though they're in a certain region, even their core make doesn't feel like 80% of the rest of them, and that's where it gets a little murky, I think. And
yeah.
I half agree with you, half not. It depends on.
Well, that's what makes it fun. Yeah. No, that's cool, and like, I think your analogies are good ways of thinking about it. And yeah, I see what you're saying.
whiskey, in a good way, it's not as black and white as it is. There's a lot of color out there, and the more you look and the more you experience, I think the more you'll see the red orange from the red from there's a lot of
Mhm.
crossover. Even in regions, there's a lot of crossover in between each ones, and I wish it was more easy to find that, but you know it is what it is when it comes to certain distilleries, unfortunately.
Yeah, totally, totally. No, no, that's cool. And yeah, I mean, this is, and I appreciate everybody's like who's jumped in the chat and shared their 2 cents about this. I mean, I think this is always in kind of one of those interesting whiskey questions because I've often found myself personally, trying to figure out how to describe something in terms of its region and most specifically in cases of like space side versus highlands running into like not being able to explain it exclusively. So I kind of just say, as folks who look at my reviews notice, I'm like, this is from the Highland region. This is from the Space Side region, but I don't go into like why it's a Highland whiskey or a Space Side whiskey because honestly, either my palate's not developed enough or frankly, there's just not that much difference. But,
Well, you could say, I mean, you could just put it this way, like, the Highlands are usually like your florals and your light ones. Your Space Sides are usually your fruity, more fruit in your face type ones.
mm-hmm.
Your Olives, of course, are your heavily peats. Your Lowlands are usually like really light, triple distilled, light in flavor. But you also have your Islands, which is more maritime, briny, also usually smoky. But in Campbelltown, it has more of like a sulfuric funk. It has like a lot of more Dunwich Warehouse influence, a lot of leather.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
But you could always say, well, this is the profile that typically is this region, but this distillery does not, or it does fit that type of environment as far as like profile.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
could do it that way, which they do have their distinct usual characteristics, but I will agree with you. There are like a good 30-25% of distilleries in certain regions that they're not cheap.
Yeah, totally, totally. Yeah. This brings up an interesting question. Since we've been at this for 2 months now, and we're at the midpoint of 2020, this crazy year that we've been living through. Curious if there are any whiskeys, Telex, on your radar that you are looking forward to in the second half of 2020 that are your must buys, that are I'm going to get my hands on these no matter what. Is there anything that you're looking at so far that you're excited for in the second half of the year?
Yeah, I have a couple unopened bottles that I'm definitely looking forward to opening at the right time, and it's probably going to be like a COVID clearing type of event.
Yeah.
But maybe I'll make it out to Nashville to hang out with Steven and some of those guys out there. I've been doing little tastings on the side with, but I've got an Ardbeg 19 Trevon that I don't have opened yet that I'm looking forward to. That's going to be hopefully glorious. I've heard good things about it.
That's the 19-year-old?
Yeah. It was like I can't afford it. The 17 is even more expensive because the 17 isn't made anymore. It's like $500-$600, for some.
They got a 20-year-old now too, I think.
But the 19 is you guys can still get it for about 250 to 300. It's definitely more reasonable. I would love to have the 21. I only have a sample of that someone was gracious enough to send that I'll open later. But another unopened bottle I have that I'm looking forward to getting to is the Lagavulin 18 Fischl from not this past year, but the year before, 2018. And that's going to be, I hope, a really good, glorious bottle to open, as well as a Lafroig 18 that I still have unopened as well. That it's
Did
kind
you
of like
have the Lafroig 18?
I have had it, and I was lucky enough to find 2 bottles in Prince George's County, which you'll probably be familiar with.
Oh yeah, I remember my DC days. Yes,
I was just kind of putzing along, driving around. I'm thinking it'd be fun to do a little whiskey scavenging. I call it whiskey scavenging.
Yeah.
So I found this place, and I forgot what it was even called. And I thought, well, I'll give it a try. I went in, and sure enough, 2 dusty as hell bottles of Lafroig 18 for $90.
What? $90?
Yeah.
Get out of here, man.
Swear to God, dude. Swear to God.
This guy, dude. Don't listen
So
to this guy. This guy,
he
what are you talking about?
and this lovely Indian couple were running this place, and he's like, hey, I got these. Would you like one? I'm like, I would like both of them actually.
Yeah, I'll buy every bottle you have.
He only had two, and I picked both of them up, and I did
No,
drink one.
are they the white tube or the green tube?
They're the white tube. They're not the old green tube, unfortunately. But the white tube is no joke. It's really good.
Oh, yeah.
And I opened one, I went through it, and I kept one. And Aquaman, also known as Leo Evolve, was supposed to come up and hang out with me for like a weekend, but he had some issues that came up and he couldn't do it. Hopefully someday he'll still make it up, but I was holding it for him just in case he made it. But now that he's never came, I might just kind of open it up and have a little fun with it on the side.
Yeah, man. I mean, the Lafroig 18 is a fantastic pour. A few months back on my channel did my top 5 Lafroigs, and the Lafroig 18 made that list for sure. Luckily, I have bottles of the white tube and the green tube, and I'm going to eventually do a comparison between the two.
Hold on the green tube for me. Hold on a little sample for the green tube.
I will. Oh, yeah. No worries about
Just a
that.
wee sample is all I need.
I have a wee dram for you, mates. I got the wee dram for you. It's going to be very good. And I have it, and I have like 2 or 3 bottles of the green tube. So I'll definitely save you one. I've only opened the white tube. I love the Lafroig 18. I did not find it for $90, so I'm beyond hyper jealous of you. And you basically stumbled across, a freaking oil gusher with that, man. I mean, God, it's always the best feeling, right? I mean, and I'm sure folks in the chat have some examples of walking into some rando liquor store where you walk in and you come across something that should be way cheaper and you grab it. I've had a few examples of that myself. I think most of the Lafroig 18s I've got are secondary market. They're 180. So you're in good hands, my friend.
Definitely.
Well, that'll be fun. That'll be fun. Are there any new releases you're anticipating in 2020 that you're looking forward to yet, or just kind of keeping your eyes peeled?
Yeah, I'll definitely get to that in a second. Richard, let me know what you think about that one. The 19 sounds good. I'm wondering if what you thought. The another 2 bottles that are coming that I let you know about already was the Benriach 21, which I'm looking forward to give Rachel Berry another chance. She's has her hands really heavily in that one, and I want to see. I've heard good stuff, so hopefully it's a good one. And the Altavania, which is going to be interesting. It's spelled ALLT-A-BHAINNE, but it's pronounced Altavania, which is kind of strange. So you have to get used to it. But that's going to be a distillery bottle that I found that I shared with Malt, and hopefully we'll be able to take a look at that.
Yeah.
As far as new ones coming out that I'm really, really excited about is definitely that new Carriages. I got to get my hands on that. Is that readily available right now, or is that still kind of coming?
I'm not seeing it. I haven't seen it yet. I've been looking for it lately.
I think usually it takes a while to get we usually get the community release of Ardbegs in March. Then in July we get the limited release, and then for Lafroig we usually get the Carriages. It seems like in September, from what I remember. Does that make sense to you, or?
Last year I found it a little earlier. It was July.
Oh wow, okay.
But I mean, it's really luck of the draw. I mean, you find somebody that has it online or something like that. Or
that new Carriages, man, I'm looking forward to that, definitely.
Yeah, port and red wine. Yeah, that one's on my list.
I'm so happy about these guys. The Ardbegs did the black with the Pinot Noir cask. So it seems like a lot of guys are getting into the red wine maturation. And if it's done right with Isla, it can be beautiful. If it's done right, I'm hoping. I would doubt Lafroig would release something that's crazy. Thankfully, in the Carriages series, I've never had what I would consider a bomb. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I haven't either. Yeah.
Thank God, because they're
No,
not
they're
cheap
really
either.
good. I mean, they're really good on that. Yeah.
They're going up in price this year, haven't they? What's that new carriage running for? Do you know? I heard it's like horror stories. It's a little pricey.
Really? Oh, that's disappointing. I have not seen any. I have not heard anything about the price, but that would be disappointing to hear. But I'm not going to be surprised either.
I think it's the partly tariffs, but also just word of mouth. Them getting more and more exposure, I think, is helping their price. But I'm thinking it's like 120 to 130, somewhere around there.
Oh my God! Really?
I think it's what I've heard. Don't
I gotta get two. I mean, I always buy two, so like I can't get. Oh man, 130. That's brutal.
Hopefully it won't be that crazy, but we'll see here in the next couple months. Hopefully one of us will be able to get our hands on it. I'll let you know. I haven't talked to Petites still. I'm meaning to get up there and make a little drive-by, but I've been staying close to the house pretty much.
Yeah, understandable, man.
So it's kind of tough because it's like I can order what I want to a certain extent, but certain new ones, it's like it's better just to get it from your local people because you want to support your local businesses. You know what I mean?
Totally. So speaking of deals, there's a local shop in my area, and I'm just going to throw this out there to folks that will deliver to my house that is selling the following: Lafroy 12 cast or Lagavulin 12 cast strength, Lagavulin 16, and Lagavulin Distillers Edition for $320. Would you buy that?
Wow. Okay. Say that one more time. Sorry, that was really fast.
For $320, would you buy a 3-pack of Lagavulin 16, Lagavulin Distillers Edition, and Lagavulin 12 cast strength?
Okay. So the first one was which one?
Lagavulin 16.
That one should be about 80. What was the next one?
Lagavulin Distillers Edition.
That's around 120. So now we're at 200. And what was the third one?
Lagavulin 12 cast strength.
2 plus 130 to 140. I have seen it as low as 120, but that's not typical anymore. Lagavulin 12s usually run about 130 to 140. So that's 340. I think you said for 320.
Yep.
That's $20 to $30 off. I think it would be worth it. I think it'd be. I mean, it's not going to be like a crazy deal, but if saving $20, $30 is, if you do it over time, that adds up. So I would definitely take advantage of it. I think.
Yeah.
What do you guys think in the chat? I'm just curious if you think it's a good deal as well. It's kind of iffy, but I'm leaning towards it, pulling the trigger on that one.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
Unless you're, I mean, and definitely more so if you're seeing the Lagavulin Distillers Edition for more than 120 or the 16 for more than 80, I would definitely pull the trigger because I have heard the prices are going up. I haven't bought a bottle in a while, and those were the prices that I remember last time I went out. Do you still see 80 for the regular 16?
Dude, the Lagavulin 16, I've seen upwards of $100.
Oh, man.
I'm not even kidding.
It might be a better deal than I'm thinking. It might be, $40 to $50 off. So definitely I would pull the trigger on that if that's the case. I have had the Tussale Richie Z. It's very, very good. It's one of my favorite private edition Glenmorangies, and I've had the Star. I'm sorry, not the Star, but the
my review on Friday. My review that's going to drop Friday. My next review is the Spios.
And I have one as well. Check it out on the side. Spios is really good if you like rye whiskey, I think. I'm trying to think. I haven't had the old like Alantas, but I have had the Milchon, the Tussale, the Spios. The new Alta I haven't had, but most of them I have in between. And I think the Tussale is actually one of the better ones. And it's a sweet dram. I even found it to be sweeter than the Milchon, even though the Milchon was supposed to be sweeter. But I like the Tussale better than the Milchon. So there you go with that.
Yep.
What about you?
Yeah, I have a couple bottles this year that I'm still going to open. Going back on our thread about the things I'm looking forward to still this year: 2 Lafroigs, the new Lafroig 10 cast strength batch 12, which I've yet to find, but I'll find it, and really looking forward to that because I usually pick up 2 bottles of that every year. I love the Lafroig 10 cask strength. Also, the one that you mentioned, the Carchis 2020, which is that port and red wine. Got to get my hands on that. Those 2 bottles, along with, the 2 remaining Elijah Craig barrel proof releases, which will come out this year, and the 2 new Larceny bourbon releases that'll come out this year are also on my radar. But in terms of bottles that I've ordered and am going to open, Glengoyne 25, Highland Park 21, which, again, if I hit 500 subs by next week, I'm going to open that Glengoyne 21 live, which I'm really looking forward to. And then I also have a I'm not Glengoyne 21, Highland Park 21. I'm also have a Highland Park 12 single cask strength, which I'm going to open at some point in time this year. So I definitely, stay tuned, y'all. We both Telex and I got some good stuff coming up in the second half of 2020. And what has it been now, man? I mean, we've been doing this for close to 2 months, and
when you do
a lot of fun.
When you do the Lafroig cask strength, let me know, because I do have a sample still of the batch. What's the new one called again?
The new one's going to be batch 12.
12. I think this is a batch 11. I still have a batch 11. I still have a sip of. So I'll definitely.
It's a good pour. The batch 11 is good. I like the batch 10 better, which you can still find relatively easily somehow. It was more peat, iodine, smoke intense forward than the 11, which I found more kind of like the old 7, which was like meatier, a little bit smoke in the background. But I mean, they're still like, that's the beauty of Lafroig 10 cask strength, is every year you get something a little bit different in the profile. But man, great pours all around.
Yeah, my original bottle, I think, was a 6 when I did the original review, but it's been a while. But that's like a 6 or an 8. I can't tell from here. But the new tin was not as it didn't have the TCP iodine hospital antiseptic notes.
You're talking about the 11? Yeah, I agree.
And it didn't have all the really nice effects. So hopefully this new batch will bring back the hospital. That's one thing I love.
I totally agree.
That's one thing I love about Lafroig, is I love the antiseptic TCP iodine bandage in your face. It's weird, but once you get it and once you accept it, then you can never be without it.
Look, I mean, say what you want about Broke Lottie's Octomore with its 5 million, 200 to 5 million parts per million peat smoke, and
let's not go crazy.
And some of the other, and some of those, I'll be honest with you, there's nothing like Lafroig 10 smoke. There's just nothing like it, and especially Lafroig 10 cask strength, specifically batch 10. Lafroig, for all of the things we want to say, they color, they chill filter some of their lower end bottles. That quintessential essence of that stuff with that peat smoke, you just can't mess with it.
Isn't it weird that you can't get? And I mean, can you think of any other distillery that gives you the TCP iodine?
There's nothing like Lafroig. I mean, even Ardbeg 10, which arguably I like better.
Same here, actually. Same here.
Yeah, but there's nothing like Lafroig 10. It's both a whiskey that people are introduced to when they first try peated Scotch. Ooh, that was a nice cork.
Oh yeah, gotta have some more.
Lafroig 10 is both that for a lot of folks, one of the first heavily smoked whiskeys they get into. You just can't beat it, and it's got a certain essence to it. It's got a certain panache, je ne sais quoi, whatever the fuck you want to call it. It's just got a thing to it, man. You just can't mess with it.
I got a question for you. Mark Broda, one of the Scotch for Dummies, and I are big fans of the Lafroig quarter cask. Do you like the quarter cask stuff at all?
I do like the quarter cask. Yeah, the quarter cask was great. I'm not sure it's worth $10 to $15 more than the 10, but I love it. Yeah, it's good. It's got a more peaty mouthfeel for sure. It's drier. It's more intense. It reminds me in Ardbeg terms of the Corrie Vrecken, but much cheaper. But
Yeah, definitely.
when we're talking about smoke, when we're just talking about smoke intensity, Lefroy 10 is just, it's one of those whiskeys that there are a few that can match it. It's got its own thing in a way that, especially for people who are just getting into Scotch and who are just gravitating towards Islay peated Scotch, you never forget your first Lefroy 10.
I've got a challenge for you. I want to tell you a little story. Like I'm sure I've told it to you before, but I've got a little challenge for you. Let's say you were gonna you had a bourbon drinker and you were gonna give him like a sip flight, and just to give you kind of what my first experience with Scotch was a shot of the Isle of, I'm sorry, the first thing was the Glenmorangie 10, was just like a base intro to Scotch. The second one was the Isle of Jura, of all things, which I thought was kind of
wow,
crazy.
that was the second one?
That was sadly the second one, and it was just basically smoky. It didn't really have a lot of other characters to it. And then the final one was graciously, thankfully, the Lefroy 10. Sometimes they would put the smokehouse, which is like a blended Isla one, which has Lefroy in it. It's basically Lefroy ish, probably with Kalila or something else. But what would you do for like a 3 dram intro to Scotch, where you wanted to give someone the full experience, where they got like something kind of light and intro-y, they have like maybe a little sherry or a little something different, and then you finish it off with something intense? What would you give them as an experience? I'm just curious what you thought about that.
I would go in a 3-sip flight. I would go Balvenie 12-year-old Doublewood.
Okay.
Highland Park 12, whatever, Viking Honor, Lefroy 10.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
So it would be the transition of barley influenced from corn, but still bourbon. Then add a little bit of smoke and sherry complexity with the Highland Park, and then the full-on blast of what a peated single malt Scotch should be, which is Lefroy 10.
And you give them the heather in the middle too, which is kind of a nice kind of a. I like
I think that's the way I would go. The only qualifier I would maybe throw in would be swapping the Highland Park 12 for the Oban 14, because that also has the smoke and a little less sherry. So it's really
nice floral notes too. Nice floral.
Very much so. Yeah.
That's excellent picks, I think. What do you guys think? Let us know what you think as far as like if you were going to give someone like a 3 intro to Scotch journey, what 3 drams would you use? I would probably use. I would start with a Dalwhinnie 15 as my base.
Oh yeah, the honey bear.
The honey bear, just get them in. Get them in. You got your fishing rod. You're kind of just
get the hook in the lip.
So once I got them with the Dalwhinnie 15, I probably would go towards something middle. And your Highland Park 12 is like that's a damn good choice. I guess I would probably try to mix it up maybe and go with a Glendronach 12 sherry, middle of the road, kind of a nice, one of the best representations of a sherry dram without the Macallan price is the way I look at it, right?
Yeah.
And then finally, man, I would probably finish them off with the Ardbeg Ugadal.
Oh man!
You can't tell me that's not like a good. It's like the first. It's a left jab, and then a right cross, and then a right rabbit punch.
Let me tell you this: I'm humbled by your recommendation. Ardbeg Ugadal. I have not had one in 2 years, but I will say unequivocally it is my favorite Scotch ever. And I probably would agree if I poured another pour of it when I consider price, value, all of that. That is a good one. So here's one that I would consider as the final, and this is a synergy between both of what you and I have mentioned, that may be a better intro to leading to an Ardbeg Ugadal or Lefroy 10, and that would be Talisker 10.
Nice, yeah.
Maybe Talisker 10, which again is not and we've talked about this ad nauseum. I am not a fan of Talisker 10. It's not one of my favorite whiskeys, but Talisker 10 can serve an important function in that it is not Lafroig 10. It is not Ardbeg Uigeadail in terms of its intense Isla peat smoke, but it's got enough smoke to let you know what you're in store for if you go further, but still palatable.
Oh yeah, you hit the dead nose. It's like it's just abrasive and interesting enough to be a bad boy, but it's not like so bad it's going to punch you in the face at the same time.
Right. It's like the guy who's got to still go through initiation to be in the gang, but is still like a hang around with the gang.
Now, let's go to the next phase. Now, let's say instead of a new Scotch person, let's say you want to get them into the heavy end of the spectrum on all three. What would be like your basic? But keep in mind, you want it on steroids. What would be your basic, your middle, and your end for like someone like you or me that was like already into the realm? Like are you
talking about peated, like smoky peated Scotch?
Anything's open. You could go sherry, you could go peat, you could go both. What would you give like as a three range dram? 3 glasses of Glencairn.
Oh yeah, totally.
What would you give somebody for that?
So I would start them with GlenDronach 18 Allardyce.
Ooh, nice.
Then I would go with Ardbeg Uigeadail because it's the transition of sherry into peat. And then I would finish with Lagavulin 12 cask strength.
Oh, nice. Wow. That's nice. Okay, I like that transition. Yeah, Allardyce 18. You started out with a bang. I was like, Allardyce 18, I'm all in.
Yeah. Allardyce 18 is... I actually have 2 bottles of Allardyce 18 that were bottled in 2019, which means they're 24-year-olds. Oh, I will give you some of that, my friend. But yeah, that's the way I would do it. I would say if we're going bold and we're going big and we're trying to show off the extreme bold flavors that Scotch can bring, I would start heavy Oloroso sherry because Oloroso is such a ubiquitous kind of maturation or finish in sherry. Allardyce can't be beat. Then transition, heavy peat with some sherry still in it, Ardbeg Uigeadail, finished with the most complex, quintessential, still accessible peated dram, Lagavulin 12. What would your choices be?
Wow, man, that's a good one. Oh man, I would start really, really great, basic, upfront, no craziness. Like if I'm allowed to go like all in crazy, I would start you off with a Blair 83.
Okay. Wait just a minute. Now you're flipping the script. Now you've done changed the game. I haven't even had that, and I know based on my experience with the Blair 90 that is. Will they appreciate it? Is the question I asked you. Sir.
We're not worthy, man.
To appreciate that.
But I said it was from.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I said it was for someone like you or myself that's been around the bases. We know what we like. If I was giving you an intro of where I wanted to begin the journey, man, and I'm going hardcore, balls to the wall, forward.
Nothing is going to mess with that. You are dead on, sir.
We're going to start with the Blair 83. In our second part of the journey, I'm going to go crazy sherry, but like deep, heavy, if I can. At first, I was thinking like a really good batch of the Abelauer Abana, but it's kind of but I've got the reason I'm kind of hesitant is my end glass is going to be just blow your mind kind of craziness. The middle of the road sherry thing, man, it's a tough one. I'm torn. I'm thinking maybe instead of that, maybe going with a really nice classic heavy, but really good, like a Brora, like a Klein.
Okay, yeah, okay.
I'm thinking like Klein Leash. At first, I thought, okay, Klein Leash 14. That's not classy enough. I need something better. Then I thought, well, I need a cask strength Klein Leash. They have that that Game of
Yeah,
Thrones
yeah,
version.
right.
But that's
Exactly.
still not quite there. I need something even more crazy. I went to years to be there, and that's when I thought, okay, Brora, 30-year-old Brora. Oh, that's just like even better than the Ball Blair 83. It's like it's even a notch better. And then I thought to end it off, it's like, well, I would want something either really nicely heavily peated, like a crazy Octomore, or maybe like something a Black Arts if I didn't want to go peated.
Oh yeah, well the black art. Okay, yeah. So if we're talking about a price range that is in that range, I might want to redo mine. But yeah, I'm following you.
So
Yeah.
I would end you with a Macallan Rare Cask Black, which is a Traveler Till exclusive. And some of the Macallan Rare Casks don't rate that well sometimes, depends on the release.
Yeah.
They're up and down. But that Rare Cask Black, my friend, is smoky and has all the
Love to try that.
characteristics of the Rare Cask. I only had it once, and it was from a really good friend that sent a sample. But Jesus Christ, man, I'm telling you,
I can imagine.
it was
Yeah.
insanely good. I was surprised at how good that Rare Cask Black was. So that's
Fair enough,
where I would
man.
end you there.
I think I went to more intermediate, and you're more on the professional level. And so to match you on that, if I went in that professional range, in the like you've graduated to like high level, I would go.
I think money's not an issue because I can't
Money's
afford
not an
any
issue.
of this
Okay.
stuff.
If
I
money's
can't.
not an
I
issue,
can't. I cannot get a Rare Cask Black, but if I could,
yeah.
that's what I would give you at the end.
Yeah, if money's not an issue, Highland Park 25,
Nice
followed
intro.
by probably Art Bog.
Oh, nice. Oh,
And
I
then,
love that, man.
yeah, and then the magnum opus would be, oh my god,
think like you can go heavy, you can go old,
no, you know what?
but go smoky and heavy or
The way
peat.
I'm going to redo this, Highland, I would start with Brooklotti Blackheart 4.1, Highland Park 25, and then we would be thinking Lefroy 25 probably.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. That's the dream trio. Could you imagine me asking you to come over there, Malt, and I got 3 drams for you. I've got a Brooklotti 4.1.
Grand Duke said we're crazy. We are crazy.
I've got a Brooklotti 4.1. I've got the Highland Park 25, and to finish you off, what was it again?
Oh, the Lefroy 25.
Lefroy 25. And God bless, I wish I could taste that. I actually had it at an expo once, but I haven't had it like a bottle myself. Oh my God, dude. I would freaking I would lose control right here.
Yeah, for sure. Super Henry said, I really want to try that Lefroy 12. Oh, wow. And Richie Z is sipping on Allardyce right now. So, yeah. So you have to tell me. So, since I kind of started with an intermediate range, what would be your intermediate range?
That's a good question.
3-gram intermediate.
If I'm trying to get some control here, and I want to go, I would start out with either the old version of the Old Pulteney 17 or 21. Ooh. If I went new, I would go Old Pulteney 15 as my intro because it's really good. As my starter, and then I would go to like a good, really solid sherry. I would go for the Balvenie 15 single barrel sherry. Yeah. I would hit you with that right cross, and then I would deck you with a freaking uppercut. I would give you like I would end it with a Brooklotti Octomore 7.2 French Syrah. It's a really, really damn good red wine cask, man. It's amazing. It's of the 7 series. I like the 7.1 a lot. The 7.3 didn't do it for me. That durian fruit shit's got to go. But the 7.2 was the perfect dram in that series, I thought. Holy shit, man, it's good. I gotta get some more.
This is fun, and I'm gonna have to like review. I'm gonna have to watch this again because my younger brother is a huge bourbon head, and like into the high end bourbons. We're talking the B tax. We're talking those, chasing down the high end bourbons. And him and I love me some good bourbon, but I'm more of a Scotch guy. And some of the things we talked about tonight are like ways I want to consider his graduation into Scotch, because no offense, y'all, eventually, if you're a bourbon head, try and graduate into Scotch. That's all I can say.
It's very true.
And I have some great bourbons open here. I have some bourbons that I will always drink, but at the end of the day, when you can drink Scotch, why drink anything else?
I wish we could transplant Kentucky to like the coast and make it up towards like Newfoundland. Is there a reason? And I mean, this is a serious question to any Canadians out there. Is there any reason why like Scotland has the perfect everything for to make Scotch, and it's especially when you get to the Isla and the islands and some of that stuff, the Campbelltown region? What is it about Newfoundland, which is the same latitude, the same everything? Why can't they make Scotch like that? I don't get it. Is there a reason?
No barley? I don't know.
That's what I can't get. It's like, I mean, they must have the same climate. I would think they would have some sort of peaty bogs. I mean, Newfoundland's a huge area. If you look at a map, I mean, it's a massive. I mean, it's not. I wouldn't call it like a continent by any means, but it's a pretty good sized island. You would think they would be able to pull out some sort of boggy, marshy area to pull out some of this vegetal stuff. You would think, right?
Yeah, I agree.
I wonder what it is. If any Canadians out there that if you know, let me know why you can't. Because if we could transport to Kentucky to the coast and push them north a bit, they would be able to do exactly the same thing. And I'm hoping that the Kentucky distilleries are looking at Scotch and what makes it complex, what makes it interesting, what makes it all these things. I'm hoping that they take notes and think, what do we need to do to bring our game up to that level? I'm hoping that they do that.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, totally. So since we're on the topic of threes, what are your top three? And this is something I'd love to hear from folks in the chat on too. While I know, especially from the Scotch aficionados, that every distillery's got some great whiskeys, what are your top three, if you have them? What are your top three distilleries?
Oh gosh. Oh man, that's like the toughest question, because honestly, after doing a tour of the 200 and whatever distilleries that there are, yes, there's like a good 30 to 40 that just need to just stick to the blends and do their thing, but there are some really good gems and some that are not so known. Edgerdower is a good example of a great distillery that has the Balakin series, which has some really nice peated maturation of different types of casks, Oloroso, sherry, whatnot. They do a really good job that people just don't know about. But man, distilleries is favorites so far. I'd have to say, I mean, Ardbeg, of course. I mean, you could tell by behind me. I even got rid of the core to make room for all the distillery the community release bottles I had. So the core is actually gone from this. The 10, the Quarry of Reckon, the Ugadal, and the Ono I actually got rid of just to make room for some of the other bottles that I had that are really, really good. Ardbeg is definitely in the top three. I mean, I try not to put all my faith into Isla, but Lafroig is definitely up there, as you could tell. I mean,
Lafroig and Ardbeg. Nice.
It's really tough not to include them. Man, it's tough. I mean, I'm still on my journey like you guys. I've probably got about 4 or 5 years into this journey. I'm still learning as I go. I mean, there's lots of great distilleries. I love Bladnoch as a new Lowland that I really like a lot of. But if I had it, man, it's tough. I love Highland Park. I love Bunnahabhain, and I love.
Yeah, there's some good ones in the chat while you're thinking. So Ben Demon Hunter, Ardbeg, Tomatin, Bunnahabhain, Silverlock, Springbank, Ardbeg, and Bunnahabhain. Richie Z, Old Pulteney, Kleinleash 14, Aberlour Abuna. Andrew Page, Lafroig, Kilhoman, Springbank. Man, I mean, there are some similarities and some differences between folks.
I'd say Ardbeg, Lafroig, and if you had to, I mean, I would almost say Kilhoman. The only reason I'm hesitant because they're so new to the game and they have so much room to grow. I think Kilhoman is going to be one of the best distilleries of all time. I really do because they are new. They don't have any 12s, 15. I mean, could you imagine an 18 or 21-year-old Kilhoman?
Yeah,
can you imagine that? It's going to be. It's going to fucking blow your mind. I have a feeling.
Yeah, agreed.
But Bunnahaven, I think, is going to be my third. I really like the Ardbeg, Lafroig, Bunnahaven. But honorable mentions will be Kilhoman, Kilkerran.
Lagavulin.
Lagavulin definitely is up there. Kalila. Highland Park is definitely up there.
Yeah.
Ball Blair, the old Ball Blair series was excellent. I have not tried any of the new Ball Blair. I'm kind of nervous. I'm hoping they don't blow the doors off where it's bad.
I've heard very mixed reviews, which is discouraging. But yeah,
man, that sucks because the old series, the vintage series, was so damn good. The 05, the 02, the 99, the 90, the 83, shit fire, man. Why change a good thing? I don't get it.
Well, that's a good list, man. I mean, I am hard pressed to.
What about you?
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
The weird thing is, I think a lot of these guys, like the Blair Athols and the Ben Rennises, I think that they could be at that level if they had the investment or the money to do more things. It's just like if Diageo pigeonholes them to doing blends, it's like, well, they can't, get better. Sorry, man, go ahead.
Yeah, if I had to choose three, Lafroig. Ooh, God, this is hard.
You want to say Ardbeg. You know you do.
I do, but I'm not going to.
You bastard.
Here's the way I would go. Lafroig, Bunnahaven, and then it's a toss-up between Glenmorangie and Highland Park.
Nice. Glenmorangie is damn good. I will have to.
It's the variety. It's the variety, and they all do it well. I'm torn between.
If I were you, I would push you toward the Highland Park because Glenmorangie.
I'm a little more towards Highland Park.
Glenmorangie 18 is in the higher ages, just isn't there when you take a Glenmorangie 18.
The other thing is Springbank. The problem is I've just not had enough Springbanks because Springbank is so damn expensive. Like the Springbanks I've had have been amazing. I've only had like 6. No, 5. I would go. Yeah, I'm going to go Lafroig, Bunnahaven, Highland Park with honorable mentions of Springbank and Glenmorangie.
The only reason I didn't say Springbank, and I was close to be honest with you, is you were dead on. The price point is tough because of
and it's gotten so much worse.
They have exquisite craft. I'll give them that, but they can't eat the tariffs for people, which they rise. That's part of the raise the prices there, and it's so inconsistent. That's the only other thing that kind of makes me kind of iffy with Springbank. I love the craft. I love what they do. I love the variety. They have an excellent variety. I love the 10, the 12 cask strength. I love the green series. I love the port cask. I love the higher end. The ages, the sherry cask, they have a really good feel. It's just if you had to force me, that's why I would say Ardbeg, Lafroig, and Bunnahaven, I think, are the most consistent, well-aged distilleries that have something to offer. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that.
It is a tough to pin down. I mean, there's a lot of honorable mentions. I mean,
there's like 20 honorable mentions.
I mean, Balvenie is no joke.
Balvenie, Balblair, Glendronach.
Yeah, I mean, Glendronach is definitely. They were another one that I was that close. I mean, to me, like Springbank and Glendronach are equal honorable. They're equal honorable mentions. I can't even talk anymore. But they're really good because they have the 8 Highland, they have the 12, they have the 15 Allard Revival, they have the 18 Allardyce, they have the 21 Parliament, they have the higher end stuff. They have a chef that did a release that I still see at Petite Cellars that I'm tempted to buy. They have some crazy stuff out there. The 25 series,
yeah,
it's insane. peated, not peated, portwood. They're all over the place, man.
Yeah, totally, man, totally. And then there's those up and coming distilleries that are increasingly interesting to me. Glen Alecky.
Oh yeah, that's one. I mean, the 18 is glorious. The 15 is glorious. The 10PX is glorious. I mean, they have a lot going on. That's really. They're probably one of the best. If you had to pick a new best distillery that has a new make that's really like is on the heat seeker kind of
Yeah, I mean it's Glen Alecky. I mean Kilhoman's not necessarily super new, but still relatively new. Like Kilhoman, who like it seems like every couple months they got something amazing coming out. Yeah, I mean, and Compass Box.
Oh yeah,
Compass Box. I've only scratched the surface of Compass Box, but my God, most of the stuff I've had from them has been amazing.
Before we go, do you have like if you had a new, and I'm talking like new, like Elisa Bay, Ard McCurran, or Daft Mill,
Yeah,
the new stuff? Is there anybody that you're really looking forward to the most?
the one I'm looking forward to the most is the art. Oh shit, I don't want to get this wrong. It's not Ardmore. It's the guy from Brooklottie's Ardenho, the guy from Brooklottie's news story. Yeah, that's the one I'm looking forward to.
I'm the same way, my friend. It was funny because I was going to ask you, and then I was going to say my man. I had a friend that acquaintance that was able to go to Ardenho to have the new make, and I'm telling you what, he rated it high. It was a really good high rating just for their new make. I mean, that's what's amazing. It's 3 years old, probably shit that he's tasting, and he loves it already. That tells me that Ardnaho is actually going to be.
Yeah, Ardnaho is the one that I'm looking forward to the most. And the minute I can get any hand on it, I'll buy it without any equivocation.
Does anyone know what happened to Gartbreck? Gartbreck was a distillery that was going to happen in Iowa, and I know that they ran into issues. I think don't quote me on this, but I think it was Douglas Lang had some sort of beef with them about how they were doing something or setting up. Do you know anything about the Gartbreck?
I don't. Yeah.
Does anybody know about Gartbreck and what they were going to do as far as why they never got traction? Hunter Lang, I think, or Douglas Lang, it was one of the two, had some sort of big beef, and they had a back and forth, and Gartbreck basically got blocked where they couldn't go forward.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I heard, man. It's crazy. So I'm hoping that there's someone that could tell us more information before we take off. Like, what was the deal with that? Because that's what I heard. And Gartbreck was going to be in another Isla distillery, and I was looking forward to it, and it's gone. It's kind of sad.
Yeah, I had not heard about that, but that's something I'll definitely look into. But all right, man. We've hit that 2-hour mark, so I gotta wrap things up for the night. But as always, my friend, we're 2 months in. It's been great chatting with you, and we'll do this again next week. If any of you haven't, sub to Telex the Whiskey Tech. Give me a sub. We're both closing in. We're both coming close to the 500. I'm a few away. You're not that far behind. This is a lot of fun. We love I love all of you guys. This is, the reason we do this every week is to chat with y'all and spit our dumb 2 cents about whiskey. And we're going to keep doing it.
Yeah, I got some catching up to do to you, man. You've been doing great. I really appreciate the.
Yeah, we'll get there eventually, man. It's I've seen people with way more less videos and way more, but I don't market myself too much. I mean, for you and I think this is all about just the community we have and us just talking whiskey, and it's been so much fun. So, appreciate all this the support we get from everybody here in the chat, and we're gonna keep it going, man. Tuesdays, this is the place to be.
It's funny because I get a lot of feedback about what they like and what they don't like, and the good thing is they like it keeping to the whiskey. They want it just the whiskey forward, which we do, and that's the thing, and we try to keep it to that, and we'll keep doing that, and hopefully people will come on board in time. And I really appreciate your time, man. And
always, my friend, always. You take good care, man. I'll catch you next week. All right, brother.
You too, and I'll take a look at that Dolly Wayne. I think the 15 or 16. I have to look at the number, but I think it's a Dolly Wayne was what we'll look at next week, maybe. And bring whatever you want. I'm gonna try to get. My wife told me that they have free delivery on the McGothy place that I get to, so I'm gonna try to get that Balvenie, that one we
Nice.
talked about before. I'm gonna try to get hooked up on
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Let me know. Yeah, and then we can chat that. That'll be fun.
That'd be very
Much
fun.
love you guys. Everybody stay safe and be well, man. Sláinte.
Sláinte, man. Have a good one. It's good. Always good to see Malt Muser. I appreciate it. And good to see you guys as well. We'll catch up on some comments here on the side. Let's see. Let's see. Karen 8 cast strength and 12 year is the great too. Trooper, you're dead on, man. I love both of those. If you like the Kilcairn 8 cast strength, you don't mind taking a little time to sit down with a couple drops of water, play around with it. It's got room to grow. It's a really, really, really damn good dram. And the 12 year by itself, you don't have to play with it. It's good out of the pour. It's ready to go. It's a good, I think, a dram all around. That's one thing I like about Glengyle, also known as Kilcairn. Glengyle, Kilcairn, really good stuff. No problems with that. I love that new 15 I got. That 15 up there, you see the 2004. Let me point right there. 2004 Oloroso 15 year Kilcairn. Oh my God. If you can find that, I'm telling you what, man, you will shit your britches. It's that good. It's that good. Night to Malt Muser, definitely. I appreciate it. Andrew Trooper Henry, I had a bottle of Holland Park 15 and really liked it. It is discontinued, unfortunately. Now the 15 is very good. If you can find the old 15 still, which I think you can in a lot of places. There's places even around me that has the 15 still for 110 to 120. If you can pick that up, it's a definite buy. Do not hesitate to buy that bottle. I'm telling you, it's very, very good. Do not hesitate to buy that bottle. You will not go wrong. I have known no one to dislike the Highland Park 15, the old one. Going to try to make the Malt Muser happy hours. Definitely try to do that. Any dreams for Lost Cause? Hopefully, Lost Cause. Let me know what you thought about the the Blair Athol that you had earlier. Lost Cause. Give me some notes here. I know you probably posted it earlier. I didn't get a chance to look at it. Copy paste if you have to. Let me know what you thought of the Blair Athol that you had. The independent bottling, it was 25, I think, 21 or 25 year, and the 59 something percent. I mean, that's crazy. Good to see you, Steven, man. Looks like I'm just getting here in time. You're so fucking late to the party. It's insane, dude. My God. What's wrong with you? My goodness. That's okay. Good that you made it either way, my friend. It's discontinued. Yep, the 15. You can still find it. Do some homework. Do a little driving. You might have to drive 15, 20 minutes away from your location. Do some recon. Go out and find it. It's out there. I'm telling you. Cheers, Lost Cause, definitely. But after 25, Balcones single malt. Nola bourbon vice pick. That sounds interesting. Ardmore 20. Ardmore 20 would be something. I want that bottle. Do you already have one, Trooper? What do you think of it? I've had my eye on an Ardmore. I don't have an Ardmore bottle myself. I've had the distillery before, like in independent bottling or whatever, but I want to get a distillery bottling and see what it's like. Cheers, 500 subs for the weekend. Lucky him. I need to get more subs myself. I'm way behind, so please sub. I appreciate it, Trooper. Definitely appreciate the feedback. I wish I could find more of the Blair Athol 25. It was awesome, like a syrupy, oaky grape, like a regular grape that turned white, and then you bit into it. Okay. Huh. Was it complex? Did you get a lot of notes from it? Did you get savory? Did you only get sweet? Did you get any florals? Did you get any herbal notes? Did you get any minerality? Like, was there anything bad? Was there any earthy tones to it? Did the water help at all? Put a couple drops on there to see if it changes. let us know more details of their lost cause. I need more information, man. Appreciate it. Sleight of hand smoke, really close to the tongue with a great mouthfeel. Okay, sounds good to me. I might sign up for that one. Enjoy you and Malt each week. You guys are humble and regular dudes. So, okay, I appreciate it, man. Definitely to you as well. Try to keep up the same old you know reviews and keep it to the whiskey and tell it how it is. That's what we try to do. Hey, notice your pick from the Lefroy. When did you visit? Went to Ireland last summer. Went back to. Oh, yeah. I think Stephen got to visit Lefroy. You bastard. How many times, Stephen, have you been to Scotland? I'm just curious. And which distilleries besides Lefroy have you visited? What did you like? What you did? What you did? What didn't you like? Which ones would you skip on a visit to Scotland? I'm just curious what you thought about that. Yes, whiskey neat, man. Got to keep it neat. Sweet and sharp, no floral, minerality, or earthy. Water tames the heat. Few drops between each sip. Okay, it sounds good. How many different Dahlia Wains have you had? I've just had a 10-year indie. Very malty, opens up well. The only one so far that I've had is the 15. Um, it's the Flora and Fauna bottle. It's a distillery bottle. I'm trying to think if I've ever had a independent, and I'd have to go back for notes from last couple of years to find out per se to be for sure. But I'm thinking that it was just the Flora and Fauna bottle, and it is good. I will get into details. And that, ironically, is the new bottle I'll be looking at next week is the Dolly Wayne. I think it's a 15. If it's not a 15, it's a 16-year. It's the Flora and Fauna bottle, and we'll be looking at that. Kind of on a trend. We looked at the first Flora and Fauna bottle. We took a heavy look, sherry wise, heavy look at was the Benrinus, and that was good. I think it's a 15. The Blair Athol 12 was the second of the series we looked at. Very well done, very complex. 3.75 out of 5. Very well done. I would get it again. Definitely no joke. Definitely have it on the bar at all times. Blair Athol 12. You can get for $40 plus shipping. What's wrong with you for not getting it? You're crazy. Daily Sipper. I have a lot of friends and myself that are more cask strength drinkers, but if you're looking for a good 43% complex with or without water, that's the one to get. I would definitely say. Definitely a buy on that one. Dolly Wayne, I'll give you more details next week. Stay tuned to that one. Let's see what we got. You're spot on with just a few drops of water on the Kilkerran. Yeah, it's all you really need on the cask strength 8. The 12, you get out of. I think I liked it neat better, but you can still put a drop or two of water on it if you don't like it out of the bottle and see where that goes. But both exceptional drams, I would say. Kilkerran is definitely one of the best new distilleries. Maybe not new, but wobbles. Been there once last summer in early July. Okay, going back in a couple of years with some guys. Telex, you know them, Kenny and Mo. Well, I'll tell you what, Stephen. No joke. I had Scotland on my radar. If you have an extra seat, let me know. I would definitely love to tag along with you guys. It's definitely on my radar. So a couple of years, I would definitely be up for a trip with you guys there. If not, it's okay. I know my wife wants to go, so she'll probably get mad if I don't take her. So that might be part of the deal, but we'll see. We'll have to talk about it, play it by ear. We'll be tasting some samples here next Sunday. Hopefully, that'll be a little fun on the side. We should do a marathon tasting. I like that malt. Always tells hypes for your chosen this happy hour to make Tuesday fun. Well, I appreciate it, Meister French. Very, very well done. I really appreciate it. Slanchava to you guys. I really, really appreciate all the support. Subscribe if you haven't already. I appreciate it. Spread the word if you like what we're doing. There's only usually 15 to 20 people that are watching. We would love to make it grow. So if you have any whiskey friends out there, give a shout out. We definitely would love to have you guys tag along, and I'll be looking at more distilleries. Excuse me. Like I said, the new ones we'll be looking at in the near future are the Altavania, ALLT dash A dash BHAINNE. It's very strange, but Altavania is how you pronounce it. And we'll be looking at their distillery bottle next time, maybe in a couple weeks or so. Also, I have a Ben Reich 21 coming. That is going to be fun. It's going to be a Rachel Berry type of series. We'll see how she does. I want to give her another chance, see what she does with it, see how good refined it is. We'll have a little fun. A clear buy, the Ardmore 20 for 105 a bottle. Send me a link if you don't mind, Trooper, to Telex. That's TELEX at outlook.com. Telex at outlook.com. Any deals that you find that you think I would enjoy, please feel free to send them to me. Because I need an Ardmore bottle, and that sounds damn good. 105 is a damn good price, too. Visited Deanston, Ben Nevis, Talisker, Oban, Lafroig, Ardbeg, Lagavulin, Bunnahabhain, and Bowmore. Jesus Christ. You hit the mother lode there, my friend. The only one I would have skipped probably out of that group is Oban. I'm not a huge Oban fan, only because they do a lot of florals. If you're a floral whiskey drinker, you'll love Oban. They're not bad per se. For my wheelhouse, I would probably ditch the Oban, but man, Deanston, I would love to visit. Ben Nevis, definitely. I love Ben Nevis. Talisker, huge props. Lafroig is in my top three. Ardbeg's in my top three. Lagavulin's in my top four. Bunnahabhain's in my top three. Bowmore, oh man, I might skip those guys. That's an iffy. I had to think about Bowmore. Maybe the new Bowmore I might give a chance. We'll have to see. More than welcome to join the trip. I appreciate it, man. That's awesome. That would be great. Have you had Kilholman Madeira? Just noticed online a store that ships to New Jersey has the Kilholman Madeira Smallish Batch 2. Okay, here's the deal, Andrew Page, on that one. If you look up here, I have a good plethora, a little spectrum of Kilholman. We have the original cast strength, great buy. We have the vintage 2008, great buy. We have the Loch Gorm, great buy. We have the red wine cask, great buy. We have the Seneg. Some people don't like the savory aspects of it. I love it. I like it. Holland Park 15 Fire, I'm cool with it. Great buy. The Sauternes cask, I like it. Some people don't. I think it's a great buy. The cast strength bourbon straightforward Country Vintner, great buy. One of the best bottles I've ever had, actually. And then ending with the STR, it's an okay buy. It was decent. It wasn't like blew my mind. It wasn't fantastic, but it was okay. Um, I do not have the Madeira. I would love to be able to taste that. So please, I'm begging you, Andrew Page, send me a link to where I can get that, because that is my radar. I've got to have it, my friend. Please send it to me. Telex at outlook.com. Telex at outlook.com. Please send it. Lafroig 15 200th anniversary is amazing. It is. Um, that's the old 15 bottle, if I remember. Cherry cola notes. I really like that one a lot. Oh, I appreciate it. The one named Mester. Okay. Definitely appreciate it. I don't recognize the name. I think I might have seen it before. Welcome to the channel either way. If you haven't said anything before, I appreciate it. Oh, definitely love you as well. And I'm sure Malt definitely appreciates it. Tuesday Booze Day. I call it Tasty Tuesday, my friend. Tasty Tuesday. Not impressed though by Oban. You know, eh, Oban is good if you really enjoy the floral herbal notes of a whiskey. That is fine. Diageo has a good bottle. With Oban, I would skip the higher priced ones. I would go straight for the Game of Thrones, the Oban, the Bay Reserve, the dark black bottle. It's got some really nice smoke to it. Believe it or not, it really does. I think that's the one I would try as a first intro. If you like that, maybe try the Little Bay. Maybe try the 14. Save your money for the 18 if you still like all those, but it's an iffy. Want to find the Flora and Fauna 15? You have to order it, my friend. You have to go online. You cannot find this local. You cannot get it local. You have to order it online. Hopefully, they deliver to Louisiana. That's the catch. If they don't deliver to Louisiana, you're going to have to find a friend or someone in another state that's willing to help you out. Unfortunately, because the only way I've ever found a Ben Rennis, a Blair Athol, a Dahlia a distillery bottle, an Inchgour, they're all overseas. So please don't be, hesitant to look overseas. You have to do that. Not an open fan, but was in the town we stayed at. Great little coastal town. Sounds good to me, man. I don't knock you for going. I would definitely be interested to see what they do. Owen's all right, but overpriced. But kind of sucks. Yeah, that's the thing with. I think Bowmore does not do as good a job as Oban. If I had to rate the distilleries, I would rank Oban up here, Bowmore down here, as far as distillery bottles. But if you're lucky enough to find a really good independent bottling, Bowmore has got some good stuff out there. If you're willing to spend a little cash and go for the Devil's Punch Bowl, something high end Bowmore distillery bottle, then you're okay. But you have to be willing to pull in some money for that. And is it worth it? I honestly don't know. I mean, the Doris Moore Tempest series is the as much money I'm willing to throw in. It's like 120, 130. That stuff is good distillery wise, but other than that, save your pennies for something else. Great live, appreciate it definitely. Bowmore cask strength is very different than the standard lineup. There's good cask in that place, and it's one of the main towns on Isla. Okay, cask strength. Do they have any, regular cask strength distillery offerings though? That's the beef I have. Can I get a cask strength bottle? I've never seen one in the store that I can pick up. That's where I kind of have an issue. I don't like getting open. Yeah, Steven's like myself. We're not big on the florals. I don't mind it if it's like along with some peat and some sweet fruit. If there's something else with it, but by itself, I'm not a huge fan. Check out Saratoga Wine Exchange if they don't ship to your house. So appreciate it definitely. Saratoga Wine Exchange. I'll have to let me make a note of that on the side here so I don't forget. Saratoga Wine. Doing a one hand type deal here. Exchange. Really appreciate it, Andrew. Very much. Um, save that puppy and see what we get. I'll take a look and see. I forgot what that one was about, but I'll look back and find some notes on any standard Bowmore. I despise the 25. Wow, from it's a couple of years ago. Isn't that Burning Man? It's like a lot of us can't even afford a 25 anywhere, any distillery. Let's say you find one and you're lucky enough that you save enough up to buy it. You go out, you shell it out, you get it, you bring it home, you sip it, and you're like, wow, what the fuck did I just buy? That's what it sounds like the Steven just had with that one. How bad was it? Was it like 3 out of 5 stars kind of bad? Or was it like 2 out of 5 stars out of bad? Or was it 4.5 out of stars kind of thing? Where you were hoping for a 5 out of 5 and you got a 4.5 out of 5. How bad? I mean, despise is a strong word to use. I'm kind of curious of what you thought about that one, man. Tons of history at Baltimore. You're right about that. Check my comment, Bev. have any. I'm gonna try to dislike the distillery. Gotcha. No regular cast strengths. Releases normally released during Fish Shield, or a few independents have had some incredible ones at Beaumont Hotel. Interesting. Did they just have them there at the hotel? I wonder. Um, Fish Shield, Beaumont Fish Shield. That's one thing I never tried before, so I'm gonna have to take some looks at some Beaumont Fish Shield offerings to see what I can find. What's their this year's offering, Stephen? If you know, what do they offer as far as this year for Shield? Is it secondary market friendly, or is it already $300 or $400? Let me know what you think as far as that. That deal. Drainport pad regarding the 25. I would have paid someone to take it from me. Wow, man, that's rough. That's one of the worst reviews I think I've ever heard of. Oh man, damn. Anybody else had a really rough 25-year-old? I'm curious. I know that Malt Muser was not really happy with his Glenfarclas 25. Thankfully, the price point's not that bad for the 25, but yeah, I mean, you get what you pay for when it comes to that kind of stuff sometimes, but any 25s that really, besides the Bowmore, or if it was a Bowmore, let me know too. Any other 25s that really were like, oh God, I'll tell you what, the new Old Pulteney 25, I think that was the one that I had that was really soapy. Oh, just did not do it for me. The new 15 was great. The new, I think it was 18, wasn't as good, I thought, as the 15. The 25, man, I think that was the soapy one. And 35 was good. I had it at a tasting where they had their like a good range of taste, but man, that was the one that I remember 25 wise feeling really about. Andrew says I have mixed feelings about Baltimore. I stayed in their workman cottages during my Isla tour and enjoyed the complimentary bottle of 12 in their tour. That sounds fun. That sounds good. But yeah, Bowmore is one of those, man, official distilleries. Yeah, the core range is weak. Had amazing dream of it. Bowmore, a single cask. Oh, they'll stick out their bottles. Yeah, Independence, I've heard, is ready to stay on the Bowmore range. But I'm glad that you guys are saying that they're single cask. Some of their distillery offerings are pretty good. Maybe it might be worth a try there. 60s and 70s distillate is considered some of the best you can get. Wow, I've never had any though. Wow, yeah, I'm sure the money on that is insanely crazy. I have a feeling. Oh my. Mm. It sounds a bit rough to money wise to get your hands on something like that. I'm sure it's like in the $500 to $600 range. I'm guessing, plus maybe thousands on 60s and 70s Bowmore distillate. That would be something though. I'd love to try it. That's for sure. Like I said, the Tempest Moor. I'm sorry, the Tempest or the Doris Moor. Tempest is the European version. Doris Moore is American. That stuff is pretty good. Devil's Punch Bowl, Devil's Cut, that stuff is pretty good. Other than that, I've heard it's really tough to find a really good distillery version, but I'll keep my eye out on some of the cast strength stuff, some of the distillery-esque bottles, see if I could find something that I can get for a reasonable price that way. Well, we'll have to cut it short, guys. I hate to run, but I have to work tomorrow. I really appreciate y'all stopping by. It's been fun as usual. And Steven, get here a little earlier next time, man. Come on. We start at 9. It's just breaking your balls, man. I think hopefully you had fun. I appreciate everyone that's been by. Loch Ness, really good to see you, man. It's been way too long, and I'm hoping that you get by more often. Hopefully, if you were affected by COVID-19, hopefully you are back in the saddle and able to work. If not, please be patient. I'm hoping by winter we'll see a vaccine if we're lucky enough, and hopefully get out, be able to be more social and have a little more fun. That's where it's at for here. I'm staying inside for now, getting my prescriptions, getting my gas when I need to, but laying low, and that's the way to go. It's really the way to stay put. Silverlock, good to see you, man. Come back by, I guess, in Andrew Page. Same. Subscribe if you haven't already, please. I appreciate it. Same to Malt Muser, and I appreciate him stopping by. We're going to look at a Dahlia Wayne next week, I think. Um, Also in the future, Alta Vanya, and we'll look at the Benrac. I'm looking forward to that bottle, definitely for sure. A little more pricey, but definitely well worth it. I'm hoping in the year. And I've had the 10, I've had the Curiosity, even the peated and the unpeated. Benrac is an interesting distillery that puts out some good stuff. It's the Solstice. I think this is 17, 7 decim. I've had that as well. I've had a lot of Benracs, and they've always been pretty good. So hopefully you guys will be able to stop by for that show as well on the side. Well, so much of all for now, guys. Hopefully see you soon, and stay safe, stay healthy, and hopefully you find something that you really like in the near future.